So, of course, I continue to write these letters to my congressmen, my state representatives, even President Biden got a letter from me. I wasn't ever expecting to hear anything back, like I said before. So it was with great honor whenever I received a letter in the mail from Mark Veazey. And they're presenting it to me on legal mail, opening up the context and basically trying to see what he had written in the inside. And I'm gonna have to find a letter. It was like a 4-page letter, and he was addressing everything with me. And my complaint let me know that he was investigating. So I was happy about that somebody was paying attention. And so I felt like, hey, we need to keep the morale going on. Let me get with everybody that I can get with and get them to start writing these letters too. I'm telling inmates, hey, I'll write the letter for you. You can just go sit on the computer after I write it and type it up. Go to the law library, make copies of it, and I have the information where you can just put it in the mail. So I was giving out Mark Veazey information because he was the hot topic around the compound. So they end up calling us in for a town hall meeting. Apparently, the phones at the camp are ringing off the hook. Legislators from everywhere are calling in trying to find out what's going on at FMC Carswell. Why are we receiving overloads of letters coming in from inmates over at the camp and over at the FCI? And so staff didn't like this. So they called this major town hall meeting and go straight into addressing us, basically telling us that we were sentenced to prison time and we need to do our time. Stop worried about trying to go home early, that you're not going home on CARES Act, you're not going home on First Step Act, they're not giving out credits for this, and that, and just basically telling us to do our time. Well, the thing about being incarcerated, the last thing we want to hear from a staffer is them telling us, oh, just do your time. Okay, well, we will do our time, but we're going to do it how we want to do it. And if that calls for us being able to write multiple letters to congressmen, to whoever we need to contact. So that's how I was basically doing my time at this point. I was programming, going, doing whatever programs that were available to me on the camp at this time. We were no longer having our out custody community job. I no longer had my out custody community job, so I didn't have that to go to. So everything I was doing now was taking place on the compound. I was working in the kitchen full time. I ended up, because I was a sanitarian during the height of the pandemic and I did a lot of things in the kitchen and they liked me there, they offered me a job as a number 2 cook. And so I took the position and a lot of people was upset about it. They were like, how did she just walk into the kitchen and get this position? I've been doing this and doing that for a long time. I'm supposed to get it. Well, baby, I'll tell you how I learned it. Favor ain't for everybody. And I had it while I was incarcerated. Thank you, Jesus. And I hope that it continues to follow me all the days of my life. But it was a lot of bickering around me getting that cook position. And I didn't sweat it. I went in there. I did what I was supposed to do. I didn't steal anything out the kitchen. I went back to my room at the end of the day. Well, eventually, I'm called in by my camp unit manager. And so when she calls me in, she has me sign in my team paperwork. So it was my 6-month assessment again. And the officer that I had written up previously was sitting in the office, just a smiling. And so when I was turning around to leave, she said, oh, I'm not done. I have some more paperwork for you. And so I was like, okay. She was like, sign here. You received a year off of your sentence. I'm putting you in for home confinement to go home. And I could not believe it. And I was like, what? And he was sitting there just a smiling and laughing because he was the same person that kept telling me I was never going to go home. And so I signed those papers. I immediately went to the phone, called my family, and let them know that, hey, I got my time credits. I got the papers right here. My date changed. I got a year off of my sentence, and they put me in for CARES Act. So, they put me in for First Step Act, so I should be coming home soon. She basically told me, give it a couple of weeks. I should get a date. They're moving real fast on these dates. I left that office, y'all, and I was so happy. But the events that would transpire up until that release was just ridiculous and outright just shameful for the BOP to operate the way that they do. So I end up waiting to go home for almost 5 months, maybe 6, before I actually left that prison after I signed these papers. They're going to the same jurisdiction where I'm going, and they're getting dates in like 2-3 weeks, and they're leaving literally in a week. And I'm getting depressed again because I feel like something is going on. Like I can feel like something is wrong, like something is not right. I continue to write my letters to the warden, confronting him about the conditions at the camp. I continue to write Congress. I continue to write everybody. Like at this point, I don't have nothing to lose. Hey, y'all can keep me for the next 9 months or whatever, but eventually I am going home. So I was just waiting for that date to pop in. So I remember like 3 months passed and like 5 or 6 people who was going to the Southern District of Texas, Houston, had got halfway house dates. And it was odd to me because they had recently signed and I had signed months before them. And every time I knocked on my counselor who was back, not my counselor, my unit manager door, every time I knocked on my unit manager door to address the issue, she would look in the computer and say, nope, no date for you, Bush. And so I wanted to know, I'm curious, like, why are people who signed after me getting dates and I haven't got one? And she said, well, maybe if you stop complaining on everybody. And so I was basically like, what does me complaining on anybody? I have the right, if I feel like something is wrong, to address it and to have it addressed. She was like, well, I don't know what's going on with your date. You don't have one. So I remember I went back to my room and everybody was like, I just don't believe it. Like everybody feel like somebody torn with me. They're like, it's no way, Bush. I don't know how you're still standing the way you're standing. Like how you're still smiling, how you still do it. Like by now I would be lost in my mind. And so I'm like, I'm not even much worried about it because I've already ran this race and it's to the end now. So they're going to have to let me go. So if somebody else playing with my paperwork, I'll find out about it. And so out of curiosity, one day, my unit manager came over who was previously the unit manager that submitted my paperwork twice before. And she came over and I caught her. And so she remembered me for being such a hard worker and being sweet and nice all the time. So, of course, she took the time out to talk to me. And I'm telling her, I did paperwork maybe like 5 months now, 4 months or whatever it was at that time. And I haven't heard anything. And it's so odd. She said, I just can't believe that you're still here. I remember your paperwork coming across my desk so long ago. And I'm telling her, well, things have happened. I'm still here. Could you find out what's going on with my paperwork? Nobody's willing to even make phone calls for me or tell me anything. And so she said, where are you working at now? So I told her that I was working in the kitchen. She said, well, don't tell anybody that you see me over here because I actually came over here to help y'all. I'm trying to get a lot of y'all paperwork done so I can get y'all out of here. She was a blessing when she came to the camp, and it was a sad day when she left. Well, I go to work and I come back like she said. I don't let nobody see me sneak into her office. She tells me, Bush, have a seat. Do you want the good news first or the bad news? And so at this point, I'm sad. I said, just give me the bad news.